In-lieu.
Much like the leap year.
Planning Director Dustin Nielsen gives us the history of in-lieu parking fees in Hood River.
Downtown parking, really more of a perennial discussion point, but fee in lieu is one that, based on some of our math, comes back about every 4 years. Prior to 2006, the first 800,000 plus square feet of downtown development, both commercial, residential, was developed without the requirements for parking. But yet what you have is a largely historical downtown built around really alternative modes and in a traditional central business district style. Come 2006, pressures with growth, pressures with parking, the city did its first downtown parking study and started to analyze what future strategies would be for supply, demand, usage. Within that, the concept of fee in lieu came about. You see actually the first time that the city requires businesses, developments, redevelopments to provide minimum amounts of parking. And in combination of that requirement, having an in lieu option to satisfy that parking requirement. So for those watching at home, parking not provided by these businesses or developments, redevelopments within downtown and later the Heights and waterfront that was not satisfied in the traditional or suburbanized parking lot on off-street parking could be satisfied by paying a contribution. And that was in lieu of parking. So over time, between 2006 and 2010, staff starts to recognize and council recognizes that no one is participating in this program, that the amount was not necessarily matching up with the market request, and therefore that amount is adjusted at that time to help stimulate some economic development and help move really some of the commercial businesses downtown into a better position. Fee in lieu, which was about $18,000 at the time for residential and commercial, downtown has dropped to $1,000 per space for your commercial operations, left at $18,000 for the residential uses. Fast forward another 7 years, a more ambitious, high profile project is promoted or floated in downtown. That developer speaks to council and say the in lieu parking requirement for the residential is really a cost killer here. It will not allow us to do our project. You provide no parking. We will pay X amount of dollars. This is an obstacle to residential development. In the meantime, in the background, the late great Bob Carnahan, owner of the Hood River or Wacomo Hotel, is lobbying and pleading his case, saying, I have a historic hotel, it's on the historic register. I will owe you $800,000 day one before I ever open the door of this building. I cannot get a buyer to purchase this thing. And I will demo this historic landmark before likely I will be able to ever build upon it. We have to acknowledge his participation from 2006 to probably the day he sold it. So in that in mind, fee in lieu is generated not only to provide options for parking, but to really hold together some of that framework of downtown. Downtown is not characterized by parking spaces. These businesses have value, cultural value, some of them in your comp plan, not to be demoed because they cannot be reused. Yet here we are. So fast forward to 2017, this council is asked and debates for 3 months at the dais, what do we do with this? It comes up, and I believe I included this in your packet. The compromise of the first 2/3 of required parking would be $20,000. The last 1/3 thereafter would be $2,000 per space. However, coming out of that, I couldn't tell you how many parking spaces were required. Fast forward 2 years, another 8-month study to really update the downtown parking analysis, public outreach, a subgroup of property owners. We bring back a 30-point strategy and business plan for downtown parking that includes an updated fee and lieu schedule, a commentary on the cost and benefits, a whole list of things regarding the management of parking downtown. It's not a parking garage study. That's items 29 to 31. What can you do to deal with your parking? How to best manage your parking, best management practices from subject matter expert. And we have provided an update on that. You now have actually a budgeted item to provide a review and light update of that study, an analysis of how things have gone, what has changed since 2019. A lot has changed in the field of apps and technology. And if you want to read the background of this great piece of work, you can look up Hood River Downtown Parking Study. There is a page on your website that has the entire study, all the notes, every white paper produced, as well as a link to a Facebook page that I can guarantee has not been updated probably since 2020. So there you have it. That's the fee in lieu as we are today. Currently today downtown, fee in lieu was adjusted to $3,000 a space. There was a specific interim condition that was applied until the city decided, or the urban renewal agency, depending on who wanted to take that move, to start evaluating future supply, build fee in lieu into its funding package, whether that was a combination of local improvement district, user fees, fee in lieu, local improvement district, business district, whatever it was, it would be considered as a part of the overall component, not a standalone financing mechanism, which is identified in the plan, would be a flawed strategy. So here we are, interim conditions, 2029. Fees have been generated, first 15 years roughly got you about $15,000 in total. Since that time, I believe we're up to about $290,000 since that adjustment. So people are starting to take advantage of it. Businesses like Pine Street, you've heard from the Lightwell, Brimstone Bouldering, excuse me,
Working Hands.
Working Hands. There's a number of small businesses within your community that have taken advantage of this program to satisfy their parking. Bodum Restaurant is another one across the street. Have all utilized this program to help participate in your parking program. So being used, you have requested us to bring it back to discuss. Happy to take any comments, take some direction.
Thank you.
Tiny homes were also on the agenda on May 11th. Council members asked Planning Director Dustin Nilsson what he needed to get work done on
I
that
think what would
topic.
be appropriate would be to scope a project. Again, the idea of modeling a code set after this, that's one thing. It's very different to have community engagement in a legislative process to talk to other people. So I could like, as mentioned, there's other cities that have these rules. Are they the rules that you want? Are they the cities, your constituents? Are they the rules that they want? And so that's a big difference though. And as I mentioned, that was the scope of, is this project writing a rule set? Is this project in community engagement? Those are very different creatures when it comes to the lift on us and the timing. So
is it, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Doug.
So is it like you're like, we want to try to understand from Dustin, what would this level of effort look like? Kind of get our heads together on it, then decide, hey, that is something we want to do right now. Or then now that we know all this information, we can go into a work plan session and say, we have an idea of what this project looks like. This is how it would be scoped based on what Justin said. It's going to take roughly X amount of months or hours or workload. And is that the context that, yeah. So like, I'm in favor of voting for something like that, for you to just give us an idea of what this project looks like, right? Versus right here. Just asking you to say, what's it going to take, right? You know, so like, if it's something where you spend a few hours or whatever to say, council, this is what I think this project would have to look like. It would be X amount of hours and this amount of effort. I'd be in favor of that versus anything further than that, I think is adding to your plate significantly.
I'll
Abigail,
second.
are you clear what the motion means? What is directing you all to do?
I think I understood the motion, but I'm going to ask for permission to like come back to you with a scope of what we think this is, what we think we heard today, and come back. I also think I can detour for just a second. A lot has been added to our plates in the last couple months, and maybe we need to take a pause and actually do some dot voting of like the current status of all of the projects on your work plan, plus the projects that have been added recently, to get a sense of where this lies with other projects. Feeling a little bit intimidated by the workload right now. So I don't know how Dustin feels about that, but I think this project would need to compete with other projects for priority. I think that was one of our goals today, was to hear how this fits in your priority list with the existing projects.
Gladys.
I think that's an excellent suggestion, and I do know that we are trying to assess what has been close to being wrapped up in our work plan to understand. Sounds like some of this work could be new work or new items that are added to a new work plan or an updated work plan. So I really appreciate the suggestion of understanding what's ready to come off the work plan so that we can figure out what could be added.
I actually heard the motion as pretty clear, meaning not bump anything off the list. It wasn't jump to the top, it's jump to the bottom. That's what
I heard,
when there's time, here's what we'd like. That's
I thought I heard add immediate things that we can easily do using Portland and Springfield as a model. And the safety pieces, and then do the other pieces later. I apologize if thank you for the clarification if I got that wrong.
The intention is that we already know this exists in other local cities, and so I don't necessarily think it would be having to send Dustin to start from scratch, more of like, there's already a model that exists here locally or close by. Could you start from there? Don't bump what you have, but just how much work time do you think this would be? And that you tell us, okay, this is not something we could add by the end of the year, but definitely something for 27, for example.
Anna.
I really appreciate what you said, Dustin, about intensive public engagement and finding out from our constituents here how they would see this working in our community. So I would be okay with the scope of like scoping it and telling us how it fits in, but I also, like, to your current workload, but I also think it's really important that, you know, while we have some good kind of ideas from other communities about what's working for them, I think we need to talk to our community and find out what they're open to and what they think, because I think that that's going to be really critical.
Part of me feels like we should, that was an excellent discussion. Part of me feels like I mean, you guys are elected counselors, take a vote and see who's in favor. Part of me feels like we should maybe shorten up the motion a little bit. I don't think I heard the word scoping until Dustin said it, and that may be more in the target that people want. I don't know. So those are my thoughts. I could call the question.
Well, I think we have a motion on the floor, so maybe let that motion fail, and then we can come up with a new motion that directs Dustin to scope this out.
Exactly. So without, Grant?
There was a motion and a second. So the motion.
We have a motion on the floor.
Let's get
We
voted.
have a motion. So without further, I call the question. All in favor of the motion? Opposed?
Aye.
Chair votes nay, motion fails. Okay, great. If anyone, I appreciate Gladys bravely making a motion. Good work. Anybody want to take another swing? It's, you know, big leagues up here.
I wasn't necessarily going to make a motion. I was just going to
Okay.
admit that I think we're all ideologically in agreement that we want to do this work. It's just a matter of the timing and when we're going to get it done. I think we're all in general agreement that we're going to, if assuming we're all going to be around or whatever, whoever's going to be on council at some point in the future, or the intent or idea is to add it to the future work plan. So if anything, we could theoretically make a motion to make a note for staff to have it on the list for a future work plan.
Yeah, and like with context, right? Like, you know, this is what that, I'll make a motion. I move that we direct staff to give us a short summary on what the scope of work would look like for us to implement a program similar to the cities that Councilor Rivera has listed, and present that to us at the work plan session so that we use that information to decide if whether or not we'd like to have it on that 2-year work plan.
Moved by Stepina.
I'll second.
Second by Rivera. Again, Dustin and Abigail, does this give you direction about what we're asking for? Great. You're on red. Thank you. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Yes.
Opposed? Chair votes aye, motion passes. Thank you.
Staff has plenty of work to do to get ready for this upcoming work session, and then city councilors will have a lot of work to do in prioritizing things. Meanwhile, the day after the city council meeting that discussed tiny homes, this article appeared in the Oregonian. Not all tiny homes comply, so the city of Hood River will also have to think about compliance, enforcement, fees, penalties, and lots of other things. Should be an interesting set of work, in addition to hotel parking passes, parking in lieu fees, affordable housing, and many other topics.